Hey, what's up guys, Rampedi here. Another week, another episode. Did Zwane really say down to the wire? Orlando Pirates are really blunt. And I owe Williams an apology. Gotta talk about it. Let's go.
That's how it goes?
They keep asking about the best when they know it's me.
Okay.
Asking about the rest when they know it's me.
Straight in, I guess.
You know it's me.
Another win for Mamelodi Sundowns. Looks like every time we start this show, we're going to be saying Sundowns won. And I got to tell you, man, 8 wins in a row. They got past Richards Bay. Got past the stubborn defense as well. This was a game I was really looking forward to because this was two of the best defenses within the league. And you could tell that Richards Bay started nervously and Sundowns took advantage of that. They started fast, strong, creating chances, flooding the box with so many players there. Also with the short passes, the 1-2s. Richards Bay were finding it hard to deal with, but Magula was making some really good saves, I have to say. And also, Kaizer Mulele eventually finds the breakthrough, the goal that he took. You know, I've already said it, put a video out on social media, said I'm a huge fan of this kid, man. Like, really, really a huge fan. He's 21 years old, and the confidence that he shows having to take that goal. And also, I've spoken about the fact that I think they just create more chances when he's within the side. But now with Shaulile back, it's very curious to see what is going to happen. But there was just so many players just getting a chance at shooting at the goalkeeper. I have to also say this, though. Sundowns showed a different side to them. In the second half, Richards Bay let go of the handbrake. And it was interesting to see a promoted side having to go at Mamelodi Sundowns in the way that they did. I think they posed the most pressure to Mamelodi Sundowns this season of all the teams that Sundowns have faced. In the second half, they were choking them, strangling them, keeping them down. And luckily for them, they've got a really good defense. I think Grant Kekana and as well as Mbala, they're playing really well. Mbala is a midfielder, but now they're turning him into a centre-back. And to be fair to Rulani, he does have the attributes of being a very good centre-back, and he's showing that. But that's the part about Mamelodi Sundowns. You talk about them attacking. You talk about them scoring goals, the way that they pass, but also the fact that when they were defending in the way they did, when they were suffering in the way they did, it was nice to see that even a big side was able to say, listen, we are not going to concede any goals, you know. And with that being said, there is one player who's been very crucial to Mamelodi Sundowns this season. Ronan Williams, a player who's been having a great season so far. If you look at those numbers, 17 games, 12 clean sheets, and 8 goals. Every time he's been called up upon, he always makes a save. The funny thing about Ronwen is that when you play for a side like Mamelodi Sundowns, you don't do much in 90 minutes, but you're going to be required to probably make 2 crucial saves, and that's what he's always doing. And it gets to the part where I have to bring out my humble pie, put it right here. I have to eat, you know. I owe him an apology. I have to say, I owe him an apology because when he moved to Mamelodi Sundowns, I criticized the move. I was questioning it, I was asking why, because what he had at SuperSport playing so many times, is he going to play at Mamelodi Sundowns? I even doubted would he be able to play before Denson Yango or Kennedy Mwini as well. But he's come in and he started almost every single game. And as you can see, he's keeping clean sheets as well. I want to say this, Williams, if you are going to be watching this. I meant it in good intentions because you were the Bafana captain and you were playing so frequently for Bafana. I just did not want that spot to really go. And in all honesty, you are South Africa's best goalkeeper. So my intentions were really good. But I will humble myself and I will apologize. I will. And this is what I wanted. I want players to prove me wrong. I want players to keep making me eat humble pie, even though I feel they're making the wrong decision. So big ups to you in the season that you're having. And that's for Mamelodi Sundowns. They take on Chippa United tonight. And I definitely do think it's another win that's loading. Let's take a moment to give credit to Richards Bay. Man, for a promoted side in the way that they're playing, you know, and I also just mentioned the fact that they pose the most threat to Mamelodi Sundowns. And I did say last week that if they got anything out of that game, whether it was a point or 3 points, I think they could dream of Africa. But they didn't get anything. But that performance that they put out against Sundowns, for me, I'm thinking top 8 is done. It's in. It's sealed. Tied. Done over. What I do think now that they can challenge was the top 3. And you look at all the other teams that are hardly winning games, it's something that they can achieve. And if they got top three, I would argue that the technical team of Richards Bay would probably have to be the coaches of the season. And that would mean an unbelievable season. Cape Town City versus Orlando Pirates in Cape Town, of course. An exciting game. Goals were expected within this game. And man, I got to tell you, goals were delivered. Orlando Pirates started really quickly. I was surprised at how poorly Cape Town City started. And they allowed Orlando Pirates to keep on having shots at goal. And the funny thing is that when Cape Town City is playing, they started backing off. You know, when you're backing off, you cannot allow Orlando Pirates to have those spaces to take shots. And the Hoto goal that was scored, you could even see what a beautiful goal it was. But he was given the time. He was given like the red carpet to just like go and take a shot. Nice thing about Cape Town City is they didn't panic. They went 1-0 down, but they didn't panic. Not at all. In fact, they took control of the game. And I think they took control because Orlando Pirates started being complacent. And eventually, the South American magic starts to come to fire. Zapata getting the goal, and as well as Gonzalez getting the goal for Cape Town City. And that meant them winning it. And you can just imagine the efforts they put in to get those fans into the stadium, because they had over 20,000 fans within the stadium. And to win it in that manner was absolutely beautiful. Eric Tinkler needed it. I think the team needed it, and they jumped levels above. But I do want to give credit to Cape Town City as well, just for their transfer business. They transfer business for the players that they're getting in. I'm talking about the foreigners that they've brought in. Look at that list there. I mean, these are some really good players. Ambina, Fasika, Marquez, and as well as Ajigan, and also at Milton Dove, who's very key at Kaizer Chiefs at this moment. Liebenberg, do you remember him? But it just seems like their scouting network is really good, and I got to give them credit. But let's talk about the most disappointing team in the league, Orlando Pirates. Man, since winning the MTN 8, they have been blunt. They have been bad. They're not able to even pick up wins in competitive games. I'm not talking about that Carling Black Label Cup that they were taking part in. But ever since they won the trophy, it almost feels like their season was done. Even the players, the way that they celebrated, it was like, okay, our season's done. There's nothing more to play for. Guys, there's still a league. There's still an Nedbank Cup that's coming. I can't believe how bad they've been. And it's almost as if like I've been clouded by the MTN 8. And I think a lot of us have been clouded by it. Because this statistic, when I saw it over the weekend, I could not believe my eyes, man. I could not. For a team as Orlando Pirates, just look at it on screen. You know, I spoke about it, but I'm just so shocked by this stat. 15 games played within the league and only 10 goals. 10. And when you look at their scorers there, you know, Hoto's got 2 in the league. Saleng's got 2, supposedly having a great season, this player. And then Sibisi Marco Lepasa Evanga's got 1. I mean, they can't score. And they've got so many offensive players, they still cannot score. And I'm reading reports that Pule Modi is coming, potentially to Orlando Pirates. I'm like, what do you guys need with him? You've got about like 8-7 players up front. And you're only scoring 10 times within the league after 15 games. Man, I think Jose Rivera needs to take responsibility, of course, because I feel like he's been focusing too much on the defense because they don't concede many. But strangely enough, with their 10 goals that they've only scored, they've actually conceded more than what they have scored. But eventually they do tend to pick up clean sheets too, and I think Jose has really focused on that. But the players, man, the players for me need to pick up the slack on this one, because when they won the MTN 8 and when they have their few wins there and there, you know, the talk is so big. You know, when they're on radio interviews, when they're on social media, you think to yourself, like, you'd almost think they're having a Haaland season. But they're not. They're not. That's so crazy. Haaland, that scene that we're speaking about him, he's got about 20 league goals. 20. And this whole team has got half of the goals that he scored. And I have to say, if they don't get it together the players, and as well as I probably would say with Jose, I think we'll be looking at another disappointing season because you're Orlando Pirates, man. You're supposedly you'd say the Manchester United of Premier League. You're supposedly the Atletico Madrid of La Liga. Like, you're one of the big teams within your league. And if this carries on, we're going to be looking at another disappointing season. And I can tell you now, that MTN8 ain't going to save you. A result I didn't expect this past weekend. Sekhukhune going to FNB and picking up the win against Kaizer Chiefs. Okay. And the strange thing about it is they had a plan. Their plan was to just sit and wait for their chance. Strangely enough, if they didn't get that one mistake that Chiefs made, I think this game would have ended 0-0. And I think also Brandon Truther would have been happy. But they were waiting and waiting to pounce. You know, like how a lion is waiting in the bushes and just waiting to pounce? And that's what they did. Kaizer Chiefs making another mistake, and they got punished for it. And credit to Sekhukhune, I think even after they scored, they just sat back and Kaizer Chiefs could not break them down. Kaizer Chiefs had chances before it went 1-0 up, but even Chiefs did not take those chances. And that brings me down to the movie that I've seen before. You know, I looked at that game over 90 minutes, and I'm just like, I've seen this movie before, man. This one, I've seen it, man. I've seen it many times this season. You know, I didn't even need to tactically analyze it. Chiefs create chances, they don't take them. They make a mistake, the opposition scores. I've seen it too many times. And the problem is that I'm also starting to see is the mistakes that they are making, it's like they're hurting themselves. It's not like there's brilliant play that's getting past their defense. They're hitting themselves. You know that mistake Kunika made this past weekend? Ngezana made that mistake against Sundowns, being casual. Ngobo made that mistake, being casual against Stellenbosch. And now you have Kunika as well, making the same mistake, being casual. And for me, if it's happening so many times, you have to sort of ask yourself, what has Chiefs been working on this whole time? Look at those stats that I'm putting to you right now. They've got the 4th worst defense. Man, the 4th worst defense. Maritzburg conceding 21, Royal AM Cheaper Swallows conceding 20, and Golden Arrows and Stellenbosch conceding 18. And then you've got Kaizer Chiefs sitting there with 16 goals conceded. And here's the issue that I also have. Atazwane, the coach, you know, he came out after the game and he said, I would be worried if they were not creating chances. But he said that before. And then he went on to also say before the game that the title race could go down to the wire. I mean, I read that quote and I saw them play against Sekhukhune and I was like, who are you kidding, man? Like, who are you kidding? It's not going down to the wire. I can tell you that right now. It's not going down to the wire, especially considering the fact that the mistakes that this club is making all the time. And I think Atazwane has to fix it. I mean it. It's not like beautiful play is getting past them. They're hitting themselves, guys. Like, I've seen them make too many mistakes. I've seen Brendan Peterson get away with something too, you know, and he must be careful. You know, Zwane must be careful because this is your big chance, man. You came into coaching, you started coaching the youth, and now you're coaching the first team. Not many people get this opportunity, but you are getting it. And the way that you're speaking to the public, I mean, you have to at least sound believable, man. You know, Graham Potter's not doing well at Chelsea, but in his post-match interviews, he shows it. He speaks about how disappointed he is. But you can't lose at home on the 53rd birthday and say, oh, at least they're creating chances. They're missing chances as well. They're missing chances. When are you going to sort that out? They're making mistakes, the same mistake. So things must change quickly. And I remember the quote you said last season before the end of the season. You said we must stop sugarcoating things. Atazwane, I think it's time you stop sugarcoating things. There were massive wins for the two clubs that made changes in the coaching department. Maruma Gallants 0, Maritzburg United 1, and Swallows 2 and Cheaper 0. Talking about Maritzburg United and as well as Swallows. I have to say, the Hude also made his debut for Maritzburg United and as well as Fadlu Davids. Definitely needed that. And Middendorp beating Mamila. You know, Morgan Mamila has been getting a whole lot of praise for what he's doing at Cheaper, but the run now, it seems like the magic is coming to an end. But to get wins this early is also good for both of them, you know, because then they can galvanize the team. And also the showing that Swallows showed against Sundowns, they almost had it, but Sundowns' quality managed to get through. But to get 3 points, and what has those 3 points done for both teams is they've sucked a lot of teams into that relegation department. I mean, if you can see on screen, man, from 10th to 16th, only 5 points separate those teams. 5 points. So if one can just win 6 points or game back to back, they jump up the log very high. It's going to be interesting. And I have to say this, Latos one, I'm sorry, but this is the race that's going to go down to the wire. This one, not the title race. This one's going to go down to the wire. Who will go down? I'm not really sure, but it's going to get very interesting, and I'll be looking forward to seeing which teams pick up crucial wins. There was something I noticed this past weekend, you know? I noticed something. And, you know, a lot of the times we talk about how great Sundowns is, and we talk about the fact that they got the resources and they got the players, and which is true. I'm taking nothing away from that. But one thing I feel we don't talk enough about is the fact that how inconsistent teams are within the league. It's almost as if they help Sundowns to go walk the league, you know? Sundowns don't only just win the league because they win games, of course, but they win it because the other teams just don't happen to beat each other enough. After 15 games, Sundowns is the only team that is into double figures with wins. But I put a list of teams that I would expect them to challenge Mamelodi Sundowns. Expect them to give them a little bit of a fight. And look at their record after 15 games, guys. SuperSport, 8 wins. And credit to them. Kevin Hunt, I think they are actually overperforming, I would say, because some of the players they had to get on loan, and they're also fielding a lot of youngsters too. But Kaizer Chiefs, 7 wins only. Cape Town City, 5 wins. Orlando Pirates, 5 wins. Amazulu, I've thrown in the Amazulu because, you know, San Lezungu has spoken about his ambition to try and challenge, you know, and there was one time they finished second, and that was the time they should have just pushed on, but they didn't. And none of these teams are into double figures. You sort of ask yourself, when are they going to reach double figures? If Orlando Pirates are stuck on 5 wins, when is it going to be 10 wins? When? You know, so you ask that question after 15 games, you've only been able to win 5 times. Cape Town City, I'm talking to you too. Kaizer Chiefs, I'm talking to you as well. So I always wish one day one of these teams would plan to say, okay, we're not as strong as Sundowns. It's fine. We're not as strong as Sundowns. We can lose home and away to them, but let's beat the rest. Like, don't you guys ever plan that way? So we can talk all about Sundowns wins the league, and yes, they're so dominating and stuff, but let's be honest as well. These teams help them too as well. I mean, Pirates, 5 wins after 15 games. Amazulu, 4 wins. I mean, how are you going to compete with a Mamelodi Sundowns? If Sundowns is already close to 15 wins, at least you can get 10. You can get 10 at least. So, and I'll go back to the one season where Sundowns was behind Chiefs for the whole season. And remember what Peter Sumane said. You don't have to beat Kaizer Chiefs to win the league. And they didn't in the first league game. But eventually, at the end of the season, because Sundowns beat the others and Chiefs were not able to, that meant Sundowns winning the league. So let me know what you guys think, because fine, Sundowns have got the resources, but the other teams are seriously inconsistent. It's time for our weekly bet of the week. The purpose of this segment is to show you my bet slip in hopes that it helps yours light and green. The more accurate, the more cash you get. Let's get into it. This is the Carabao Cup special. I've picked games only specifically to the Carabao Cup that begins in a couple of hours. Manchester United going up against Charlton. I've gone with the Man United win and over 1.5. I think Rashford is going to score goals there. Newcastle against Leicester. We saw goals the last time they met in the league. I think we're going to see goals as well. 2.5 over 2.5. Nottingham Forest against Wolves. I've gone with over 1.5. And the last game, Southampton against Manchester City. I think City walks it comfortably. Man City win and over 2.5. Odds 4.79. With just 450 Rand, it turns into 2.2. And those are my selections. That is Bet of the Week, sponsored by Betway. Remember to practice responsible betting at betway.co.za. Until the next one, all the best. We've come to the end of the show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. One more thing, Nedbank Cup draw this Thursday. Last chance saloon for some clubs, eh? And for you that's watching, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you're notified for future episodes.